What's up YouTube? I'm Vaughn and this is the Gear channel where we discuss collectibles, hobbies, competitive games from tabletop to video games. And today we are going to be showing you how to play Ancient Gear. So in today's video we're going to be showing you interactions, combo tutorials, and we're going to be doing some hand testing with some cards I know some of you like to play, like the regulars, Ancient Gear box, or even like Rika for some of the spice. Now the reason why I started this video is because I just finished a tournament. We got 5th place. We went X1. The only loss that we had was against yugioh. And on game 3, it was just a misplay that it was just like overthinking. And I was like really considering against the Fiend fusion that has the negate. So I was like, had a choice of either activate the Ancient Gear Advance and bane that or Harpy's Feather Duster. So I chose Harpy Feather Duster, which was a good call because they used their Imperm already as a cost. So it was high chances that he had another one. The card I wasn't expecting was Skill Drain, which was definitely my fault in it because once I actually like thought about it, if we actually did the Ancient Gear Advance and then we did the Ancient Gear Fortress, you were forced to actually negate them. So then we could actually activate the Harpy's Feather Duster and just combo off like that. So it was definitely a learning experience, but it was definitely a lot of like heavy thinking in that tournament because especially against like the Tempai, like this was like a tournament that I really had to like really think, and especially the Centuries or like voiceless like decks, there was a lot of like good plays. So things that I'm going to mention. So for a little combos that we have is definitely going to be showing you how to play against Tempe, but also yugioh as well. But one thing I'm going to note and point out is that so for Snake Eyes, this deck doesn't really have an issue against Snake Eyes. So if we're going second, it's pretty much pretty free game because one card that you definitely need to play is Cleave Force. So this is a really good card, and especially against Snake Eyes, because the majority of the deck for Snake Eyes, they're interrupting involving around like targeting most of the time. So having a Fortress is really good, especially that you could actually play against Snake Eyes without any interruptions. But the Cleave Fort is definitely a really good like bait because one, it's unaffected by Link monsters, so you don't have to worry about Little Knight at all, and you could just negate like anything that's very like nuisance as well on your opponent's side of the field. So there's not really a solid like combo against Snake Eyes because majority of the time it's going to be like relying on Fortress or Klee or Staples. So if you have like Staples in a deck, it's more of that. So it's not really considered as like a combo, and that's why I'm not really showing like a tutorial of it. And the best way to learn is just playtest against Snake Eyes multiple times and figuring out what would be like the best strategy for it. Now, another thing is also for White Forest as well. They're playing like against like the Runic with the Runic. So if you're against just White Forest, which is very rare and no one does, you could just rely on your like your regular plays or Ancient Guild Duel and you'll be just fine. If you're against the Runic, try to like hover around the Clifford Genesis, the Harancer, and then even the Chaos Giant, and you're going to be pretty fine in that match if you just focus around those monsters. And why we're actually playing multiple of like these and only one of this is because if you're against like Kashtira or even like the new Ghoul deck, you could definitely lose quite a bit of good cards in your extra deck with Unicorn. So that's why it's good to have like doubles, because I was playing one of this and then it just became like an issue many times. So this is why I play double of this. So with that all out of the way, I think it's about time we could start on our combo tutorials, and make sure to definitely like and subscribe because it really helps the channel a lot and I do really appreciate it. So here we're going to be showing you what is the correct play to do if you're against Tempai and you're going first. So there's a few things to actually consider, and this is why it's very important because one, you can't really just end on Chaos Giant, because if you do that, then they could just make the Black Rose Moonlight, bounce it, and then you're pretty much like screwed at that point. So you're going to have to find a way to really make your opponent force his play by summoning these guys. So it's going to guarantee you pretty much an extra turn. So if they commit into any of these two monsters on their main phase 1, then there's a very high chance that you're going to actually survive the turn and it's going to go back to you. Now, one thing to actually know is that I know some of you might be like worried, like, well, what about the Trident Dragon? They could use the effect and then like just pop their field spell and then it's going to gain double. It's like, well, the field spell only works on the battle phase if it's destroyed. So if they do on the main phase, it really doesn't do much, but at the same time, it would be kind of pointless if they commit like that. But they have to commit quite a bit on the main phase, and it kind of just forced them. So the correct play is actually try to get Hyrancer. So we're going to actually start off and we're going to activate the advance. So triggering, so we're going to get the catapult. Now, there's really lots of alternative ways to get to this point, but I'm just showing you the most simplest way, just to get, because the rest is by like your like discretion. If you want to use like Gear Town, Catapult, or stuff like that, it's completely up to you. This, I just thought it was like one of the most safest ways. So we're going to go and pop. We're going to go and get the Dark Golem. We're going to trigger it, gain the Ancient Gear Fusion, gain the Hunting Hound, and then we're going to just go send, and then we're going to go and activate. So now we're going to go and send those. So Commander is good for follow-up turns. So we're going to get the Chaos Giant, and now we're going to summon the Hunting Hound. So then we're going to use the effect to go and make Hyrancer, and then Hyrancer could also trigger by inflicting 1,000, and then we're going to pass. So this makes us extremely safe, because not only if we put in attack mode, a lot of their monsters are higher than 1,000 attack, so they have to really like tack into it and then trigger and all that. So this is going to die, and then that is like the main purpose. So we don't want to fill with any back rows. So if you have like Fortress and all that, keep all of them, because you want your opponent to only attack this guy, so this guy could actually trigger, and you don't want them to have other alternative or plays, because at least Hyrancer won't be affected by the moonlight and all that. So the only way to get rid of it is by attacking, and if they come in and making him, then they're going to have less resources as well. So this is something to really consider. Like, you want to make sure your opponent doesn't have as much resources when they're entering into the battle phase. If they all have to use it in the main phase, that is very beneficial, because this is what's going to happen. So if they go and they have to do the regular play and destroys or harvester by battle, we're going to go and special summon the tanker, and the tanker is going to trigger, and yes, it triggers in the damn step. Now, a lot of people don't understand is that sub steps is like phases, okay? You could have multiple separate chain links in the damage step. So as long as there's a trigger that is going to be occurring, that phase does not change, or that substep does not change unless there is no more triggers or effects that could be applied. So once the tanker gets special summon, it does trigger and it is in the down step. So there's still less cards that could be applied at this point. So it's very beneficial that this actually occurs. So then our next thing that we're going to do is trigger, and then we're going to special summon the Chaos Giant, which is going to make sure everything is negated. They can't activate any monster effects, so we're all safe for this battle phase. Now you can put in attack mode. Now if he did the play and make it like 6,000, you might want to put in defense, but at least it's going to protect you, because they already declared one attack, and if they did destroy 2 cards, then it's 2 more attacks, so then they're going to have to attack these 2. And your opponent really has to draw just tempai like cards just to really get over like this play. So if they draw into like forbidden droplets or like board wipes or stuff like that, it doesn't really help them with this play. This is why against tempai, this is a very good play, and it's very minimal, so you don't have to waste so many resources as well. So then on your follow-up turn, you're still going to have quite a bit of cards to play around. If you want to do extra searches, you can. If you're not scared of nib, you could definitely add a lot more cards, so then you will be all set on your following turn. But keep in mind, the best play is actually just to do the Hyrancer and just pass, and make sure to leave it in attack mode, okay? That's very important. Now I think we could check another play as well. What happened if we're against Tempai going first, but your opponent shifters us? So here we are again in a very similar situation, but this time we get Dimension Shifter. Now this, okay, is very harmful. We could still do plays, but the beauty about it is that it kind of restricts your opponent at the same time. So they can't really do or commit so many actions that they usually do, especially when it's involving the graveyard, than when they have Dimension Shifter. So we're going to show you a very good play to do. So if you are in this type of situation, it would definitely benefit. But also another thing to know, if your opponent is playing shifter, you should cut down your gear towns. So usually I'll only play like one gear town and remove two, because it's going to be more beneficial on the follow-up, and you don't really want to draw into gear town if you're in this type of position. So you know what, we're going to go into it right off the bat. So we're going to do the advanced play. Okay, get catapult. Then we're going to go and use catapult to go and destroy and special, and then we get our dark golem. Then we're going to go and get tanker and wyvern. Then we're going to go and just discard, then summon, go, special. And yeah, this isn't really a solid play against, like, if your opponent has nib. But you know what? You have no choice at this point. You literally have to commit, and you can't do Harvester because of Shifter, because Harvester only works when it's in the graveyard. So that's why it's like, okay, this is a solid board, but you know what? It's very easy to get, like, nibbed, okay? So now we're going to go and use Ancient Gear Fusion, okay? And we're going to go and banish copies of cards that we don't want. So you know what, like these, it's like, yeah, you know what, we still have a few extras in the main deck, and this is probably like the safest play, because then we have another tanker in the deck, another wyvern, so we're pretty set. Even gear frame, we have another one in the deck still, and also a dark golem. So you don't really want to banish anything else except for stuff that you have multiple copies, just in case of like top deck. Okay, so we're going to go and now make our babushka and then pass it to our opponent. Now, the reason why this play is really good, okay, especially is that, yeah, you know what? They have to commit, so they're going to have to do the Black Rose play, okay? They're going to have to, like, get rid of this. First, they have to get rid of the Babushka. So all the droplets are completely dead, because Shifter is hurting them as well. So if they draw into droplets, it's just a dead card to them. If they have Imprim, they're going to have to Imprim, and then they have to go and commit to the Black Rose Moonlight play, and then to the bounce. And even at that point, that means that your opponent is wasting even more resources. And if you consider this, if they have to use this, then Shifter, on top of that, they're in 4 cards, and they're going to have to use this. Like, it's just a very safe way to guarantee an extra turn. And since Shifter is already used, you know that Shifter won't be applied on your turn. So it's definitely a really good strategy if you're under Shifter and you're against Tampai as well. So now we're going to go and show you some combo tutorials of how to deal with Yubel. Okay, now we're going to show you how to deal with Yubel and Nightmare Pain. Now, we're also going to be playing as if our opponent has Nib, so how to play like as a safe approach towards us. Now, realistically, if your opponent has multiple monsters, okay, besides Yubel, and they have Nightmare Pain, you could just make Chaos Giant, because Nightmare Pain only affects the monster. It doesn't affect the player. So if you have a monster that's unaffected by spell or traps, okay, you can attack every monster that's not a Yubel. So if your opponent has a full board like the usual plays, and they have Nightmare Pain, it pretty much ignores Nightmare Pain, and you could just OTK by using Chaos Giant to attack every other monster that's not Yubel. But in a situation that your opponent just has a Yubel and then a Nightmare Pain, and by chance a Nib, this is where you have to do some thinking. And honestly, I think this is a really good idea play to do, especially against Yubel. So if you have like Gear Town and then Advance and then Catapult, it's pretty much you have to get to a specific point. So there's multiple ways to get to this, but I think this is probably one of like the easiest ways, like just Catapult and Gear Town. So we're going to show you exactly. And we're going second, so you usually have other alternative cards to really helps as well. But this is a really good play to get to. You don't really have to start like how I'm starting, but you have to get to this specific result, okay? So we're going to go and use the Golem as Chainlink 1 and Gyotan Chainlink 2. If we had Fortress, then it would be the other way around, because we can't afford our Golem getting negated, so that's why it's Chainlink 1. But if we had Fortress, then, you know, it's going to be Gyotan Chainlink 1 and Golem Chainlink 2. So we're going to go and special summon off with the Gyotan, and then we're going to add, so we're going to add Tanker, and we're going to add the Gear Frame, and then discarding the Gear Frame. Now Wyvern is going to trigger, getting us the Commander. So now we're going to go and normal or tanker, use the effect, special summon Gear Frame from graveyard, and then we're going to go and use Gear Frame to go and get the Ancient Gear Duel. Now this is very important because we only did 4 summons, and now we're going to go and activate the commander to go and place the Ancient Gear Duel. Now remember, this places, so it doesn't activate it, it places, so your opponent can't Solemn Judgment this card. They have to negate the commander. So as soon as this card gets placed, you're pretty much all set. Okay, now another thing to know is that once you're at this point, okay, if your opponent decides to nib, it's okay because at least they got rid of their own Yubel, which won't trigger. And we still have Ancient Guild Duel that's still going to keep pretty much the frame, the golem, and the tanker. So we're pretty much just losing Wyvern, so we can still OTK very easily. But if our opponent decides not to do a nib, at least this is a good play that we could do next. So we could go and link, make ourselves the Cleave Fort, trigger the effect by negating the advance, and then going into battle phase. So U-Bell is negated, okay? So the Nightmare Pain is still applied, but at least the U-Bell is done. Then we're going to go and attack with Wyvern. Now, if you guys aren't familiar, Wyvern has the effect, and it's pretty much the only one that we have that it's when it attacks, your opponent can't activate monster's effect until the end of the damage step. So that means that U-Bell won't get its grave effect to trigger to spell summon a U-Bell. So we're going to swing with Wyvern. We're also going to chain the Ancient Guild Duel just in case. And we're going to go and special summon the Ultimate Pound. Now, remember, it's always the best way to always declare an attack first with Ancient Guild when you're planning of using Ancient Guild Duel. Because if you use Wyvern to attack and then you activate Ancient Guild Duel, then your opponent can't respond with any monsters. But if you attack with the Golem and then you chain away Ancient Guild Duel, then your opponent can't respond with any spell or traps. So if your opponent was holding on to Cosmic Cyclone or something just for when you activate this, at least you know that they won't be able to respawn, and then this is going to be special summon, and then you'll be all set. So we're going to go and swing. So we're going to take 17 because of Nightmare Pain. It's going to destroy the U-Bell. U-Bell doesn't trigger. And then we're going to attack 3 times for game. Now we're going to show you what will happen if your opponent has the same play, the U-Bell, the Nightmare Plane, but they have a Spirit U-Bell in hand. Because playing around the nib is quite easy, but trying to prevent another U-Bell, that's where things change quite a bit. So we're going to be showing you that right now. So here we are dealing with the same board, Spirit of U-Bell, Nightmare Pain, but this time we were imagining if our opponent has a Spirit of U-Bell in hand. So we can't do the exact play that we did before because then they could just simply interrupt us with the Spirit of U-Bell. So this is going to be a bit different, but you know what? The starting doesn't have to be the exact same as long as you get to the end result. So we're going to be showing you exactly how we're going to play it. So first off, we're going to activate the Guillotine. Then we're going to go and use Advance, get the Catapult. Very nice. Then we're going to go and activate the Catapult, target the Guillotine, get the Golem. So it's going to be Golem 1, Guillotine 2 once again because we don't have the Fortress. So we're going to go spell summon the Frame. Then we're going to go get the Tanker. And then we're going to go get the Wyvern. Discard the Wyvern. Go use Frame. Go and add the Ancient Gear Fusion. Next, we're going to go and use Ancient Gear Fusion to go and send everything. So then we're going to get ourselves the Chaos Giant. Next, we're going to go and use Tanker. Tanker's effect is going to go and special the Wyvern. Wyvern's effect, guess the Ancient Guild Duel. Yes, this doesn't prevent nib, but you know what? We're focusing of playing around the Spirit U-Bell in hand, so it's quite good. So then we're going to go use command. So we're going to go and place the duel. Then we're going to go and link for a nice little ballista. Get ourselves the Guillotine. Go activate the Guillotine, then use Tanker's effect to pop it. Then we're going to go and spell summon our Golem. And now we're going to go and link it for a nice little Klee. Use Klee's effect to go and target the U-Bell. Then we're going to go and activate Ancient Guild Duel, banishing for the ultimate. Now ultimate is at 5,000 because we use Tanker. So now we're going to attack. We're going to take the 5,000. No triggers, and this is a play that actually happened at the tournament, and this is why I actually quite like this play as well. So now we're going to go and attack, and that's going to be exact game. Now I think it's about time we do some hand testing. So here we are with our opening hand, and yes, we are going first, and we're not playing our build, because I know a lot of you guys do like the Regulus, do like the Ancient Golem, do like the box, and a few other spices. So you know what? I decided, like, why don't we go and we play that and see what kind of going first board we could make with our opening hand. So we do have the Wyvern, we have two tankers, a Gildown, and a Golem. So it's not really like the craziest hand, but going first, not so bad. So we're not playing around like any interruptions. We're just going to see what can we make, especially with a build like this. So if you guys like it, definitely consider tweaking some of your deck to maybe play some of these cards as well. So we're going to start with the Giltown, then Tanker, get the Golem. Golem effect is going to trigger, so we're going to get the Advance and we're going to get the Capel, but we're going to go and discard the Capel. So now we're going to use Advance to go and add, we get the Ancient Gear Fusion. Next, we're going to go and use Tanker to go and pop the Giltown to go and special, so we're going to special the Commander. Now we're going to use Commander to go and send the Golem to normal summon the Wyvern. Use Wyvern's effect to add, so we get Ancient Gear Duel, very nice. Now we're going to overlay for a nice little Rika. Now this is a very good spice because if it gets tributed, you go and special summon a planet XYZ, which is quite good. And we're going to be showing you exactly what we're going to do. So now we're going to go and tribute to draw a card, triggering the Rika now to go and special summon our dragon over here. Now this is amazing because our advance just made us +3, okay? So we added an Ancient Gear spell trap. We tribute a monster that made us draw, but then the tribute go and special summon. So actually, is it just a +2? Actually, yeah, you know what? +2, but still a really good play. So I actually really like doing this a lot. And I'm actually considering putting it in my deck, but my deck is really focused on going second. So I'm not too sure, but definitely I know a lot of you guys could abuse this type of play. So we're going to go and continue. So Gear Town is going to go now. Ancient Gear Fusion. We're going to go and make the ultimate Ancient Gear Golem. Now this is very important why we're making this. You're going to see in just a moment. So we're going to go and make that. Now we're going to go and trigger the commander supposed summon. And technically we could have done it before, you know, from there, but it didn't really matter at this point. So now we're going to go and use our catapult this time for the Gear Town. Get a token. Now triggered the Gear Town. We're going to go and supposed summon frame. Very nice. So we're going to overlay. Now we didn't use frame because I kind of like what we have in our hand, or a tanker for follow-up turn, so it's good. So now we're going to do the whole Regulus play there, you know. So we're going to get the field spell, we're going to activate it. Now we're going to go and trigger the tree as well. So we're going to put a Gear Town. So now I can negate spells as well on our opponent's turn. So we're going to go and add the Regulus. And next we're going to go and link those two for a nice Ballista, activate Ballista to get a Gear Town. So we're going to go and play the Gear Town. Now this is very good because if our opponent has Harpy's Feather Duster, just to avoid this, we could at least guarantee that this is going to get popped as well. So we'll be pretty safe. The only thing I kind of regret is maybe we should have played all the guys in defense so we didn't have to forcibly like negate a Lightning Storm, but yeah, you know what? It is what it is. Now we're going to link it for SP Little Knight. Very cool. And then we're going to use the Regulus. Now Regulus is going to go and get the Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem, and this is why we made Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem for this specific play. So on our opponent's turn, if we negate with a Regulus, okay, it's going to send it. Now, because of game mechanic, okay, Ultimate is going to be destroyed, and yes, it will trigger because, okay, a lot of people is like, well, no, how come with the Dark World it doesn't work? Well, Dark World specifically says effect. Ultimate Ancient Gear Golem just says when it's destroyed, okay? So, and it's an if, so it doesn't miss its timing either. So it's going to get destroyed, which is going to trigger. We're going to get our golem, and then we're going to trigger the effect to go and get 2 cards for a follow-up. So we're going to get our fortress and a catapult. And right off the bat, we already did negate. We have another interruption. We have a 3000 beat stick that's unaffected by monsters, but also we could switch it out for a Megaton, which is a really good floater as well. So we have multiple options what we could do. So we're guaranteeing an extra turn no matter what. And this is why I really like quite a bit. I think like the consistency wise of playing with like Box, the Golem, and all that, and Regulus is not really that good for going second, but if you change the build a bit for going first, it might actually be quite good. And we're not really changing a lot, so technically like a lot of you guys already played the Ancient Gear box, the Golem, and the Regulus. All what we added pretty much was the extra deck. So we put the Rika, the Sacred Tree, and an SP. But besides that, there wasn't really that much that was changed in the deck. So this is definitely a pretty fun like hand testing that you could do. I know you could definitely do different boards. If you didn't want to do the SP, if you're against Tempe, we could have done like the Regulus, and then we could have actually done a chaos instead. So we weren't linked the chaos giant when we used our Gear fusion. So it would have been definitely different, but not so much. But it was guaranteed that we were going to get our tree and Regulus and a chaos giant in case we were against Tempe, which is still a pretty strong going first board. So I definitely like it quite a bit. And that's it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed today's video, you know what to do. Like and subscribe. And if you have some awesome replays that you want to see me review here on the channel, you can follow me on my Facebook group page and also private message me them. I'll check them out and see if we can review it here on the channel. I'm Vaughn, and this is the Gear Channel.